This is the Silt Verses Drowned Revelations Part 3. So we are going to recap what happened last time and introduce a new assignment. Currently, we have the floating market, and so we have the floating market in play where we've answered the first question, which is what which product presents the serious danger to the public, which we've determined is this mold, which is being used in a few different ways. And we still have a few other questions that could be approached here for how to neutralize that mold, or how to take advantage of the opportunities of this strange black market full of illegal divinities. And then we started last time Young Jolly Junk, which is this massive oceanic trash god, which is blocking up a channel because it seems various pollutants and waste of different sorts are clogging things up. And we've not answered any questions for that yet, but we do have a few clues, which we'll come back to. And I will introduce a new assignment here after we kind of get back to where all the custodians are. So we left off, I believe, with Dr. Raymond Quick and Merriweather Reznik at a diner. Things went off the rails pretty hard, and a many-limbed chef was accidentally approached, which was then destroyed by an agent of the Institute who made an appearance. And at the same time, Zeph, Harrow, and Bastion Dyer, I believe, are investigating Young Jolly Junk in an abandoned boat, like a tugboat, called the Broken Pearl, and they have gone out into the channel. Bastion's discovered a horrifying saint in the back of this boat, which has affected him with the ghost of living polymer. And they were able to assist a kind of wealthy passenger of another yacht off of his boat onto theirs from this sort of flotilla of boats of various types that are also caught up and tangled in this mess in this channel, kind of around the god. And so we have the custodians spread out in that way. And just reviewing conditions really quick. I know that Bastion has the ghost of living polymer as a condition. Dr. Raymond Quick has mold spores and now miraculous parasite because he transferred that from Merriweather to himself. And it looks like the other two are condition free. So Zeph and Merriweather are doing just fine. I'll give the quick intro for the new assignment and then kind of see where you want to go. So the next assignment is called the Dusk Mother. And this is out of character. I'll just kind of describe it to you. The custodians are informed of a series of disturbances near the rural town of Weft, located just on the border of the Clutching Woods. Reports of strange attacks on livestock and damage to power lines and vehicles have been documented. Hopworth Industries, a nearby meat-packing plant, claims that some kind of large predator has been raiding their compound at night. Law enforcement records show evidence of a stray angel making its haunt on the grounds of Skeleton Ranch. Though no conclusive action was taken, and local residents have not been forthcoming with previous investigators. So the Skeleton family, who have thought to have abandoned production on their small farm on this ranch years ago, are rumored to harbor an angel, and this is what's been causing trouble for other residents in the past. According to locals, the Skeleton family simply refer to this entity as Mother. It's unclear what the relationship is with the angel, but it has been known to haunt the woods around their property for several generations, maybe as part of some kind of pact. And attempts to reach the skeletons directly have been unsuccessful, so the custodians have been directed to contain or eliminate the angel. before it kind of this problem spreads, but maybe its territory includes other places and starts to roam further and cause more destruction. Let's see. Does anyone remember who I asked the last assignment, who I pitched the question to? I think it was Merriweather.
It
Is
was
that probably
me,
right? Oh,
yeah.
okay. Okay. I think I'll ask Dr. Raymond this one. You've heard of family gods and angels before, maybe in your practice, the many people you've treated. Um, but you know how their influence can keep hold over generations, be passed on. What rumors of the skeleton family make you suspect that this angel has dug its claws in too deep? I'll paste that in the chat too.
I think what Dr. Raymond Quick has heard about the skeletons makes a bit of a shiver run up his spine, because he's heard obviously of this Dusk Mother, this feathered winged angel, and the skeletons he hears have taken to any trespassers who enter the woods, as then found again on the very edge of the forest, having been rather gruesomely tarred and feathered. Their arms sort of strung up between the trees as if they are themselves a winged angel.
Wow. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just rumors, it's how these things go. They're just trying to scare people off. Amazing. Before I forget, because it's the beginning of the session, if you want to change your end of session questions or keep them the same, make sure you do that. There's also, I've put all this in the keeper, but there is a verse available for the new assignment as well, the Dusk Mother, the verse of the Dreaming Nest. And the first question for this new assignment is simply, where is the angel's nest located? Once you determine that, you can then decide to learn how is the angel bound to the skeleton family. So you can try to weaken that connection, drive this angel away, or destroy it so that this family is no longer dependent on it and might survive on their own again. Or you can go a little further and learn what purpose drives the angel and free it from the skeleton family and give it something else or some other place it can protect. And if you take this approach, you unlock a special move called the Dusk Mother's Embrace. So several approaches you can take. But before we get there, just kind of thinking back to last session and where your custodian is, what would you like to do next? And some of you are literally on a boat, so that, might be a little more limited, but,
Yeah, I think Bastion is going to stay out on the coast. The boat notwithstanding, I think he's interested in checking out this plastic factory, plastic refinery where the angels are being manufactured, or saints are being manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't
Excellent.
remember, did Zeph get to hear does Zeph know about that particular clue? Or does only Bastion know about that? That factory. Did you share it?
I can't remember
Me
what
neither.
we established last time. I mean, I know you definitely saw the saint itself, so I assume you probably are probably aware.
Yeah, so maybe like out of character, or not even out of character knowledge, but like you're aware that there are these factories on the coast as part of your just here's the place you're investigating.
Okay.
But as far as what Bastion chooses to share and that kind of thing, that's up to you.
Yeah, because I mean, other than obviously collecting my payment from this person that we towed, that is my first and foremost thing, is pay up. Then we'll decide where we're going, for me personally.
I love how this character quote now means I have to think about what that means in this. Like, I try to avoid tracking currency in games and anything like that at all, but here
Oh
we are.
no, it doesn't even have to be real currency. We
Oh,
can
sure.
we can
Yeah.
follow your heart. Follow your heart with this
Yeah.
one.
And, yeah, lean into it however you want to. He's made desperate offers and you've got him off of his yacht. So what about Dr. Raymond and Merriweather? You're in that diner, you're kind of near the floating market, so you could go back there, where you could take a break, depending on how you feel about that situation.
Well, given that we've just had an agent from the Institute turn up and warn us off, I think for Dr. Raymond Quick, knowing that he's kind of screwed things up a little bit by giving the game away to the perpetrators, that is going to be like a red rag to a bull. So I think he's going to want to stay here and try and finish it off. But what do you think, Merriweather?
Oh gosh. As a player, I definitely think we should try to get some more clues on the floating market and maybe resolve
Sure.
it soon.
Yeah.
But I think given the events of last session, Merriweather would want to continue on to start looking into the Dusk Mother, maybe.
Cool. That's always fun. Then we get to see a little of each one this session. Yeah, let's look at those clues. Just speaking of, a lot of information to recap. I'm trying to keep up with it a little better. So for the floating market, you've answered that first question. You have two clues that you now can use towards the next one, which are a product seeks to expand and replicate itself. Which, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that was that on the grill? Like you saw some food or some pieces of some creature or something. I might be getting that wrong. Something was seeking to replicate itself. If we don't remember, it's wide open. It's up to your theory in the end, so it doesn't really matter. And then bioluminescent handprint on the side of a store. I think that was one that one of the custodians came across, maybe. Yeah, cool. Yeah, and so again, your two options there for resolving it. One is just destroy or neutralize this the substance, right? That's complexity 4, so you're pretty close to that. Or figure out how to negotiate. It might be more of a challenge, how things have gone, but negotiate an exclusive arrangement with, we'll say, one of these vendors, so it's no longer a danger to the public, and that gives you access to return to the floating market, and it lets you unlock other little opportunities of things. And then back at Young Jolly Junk, you have 3 clues. Cleansing Rain, which was found along the way from that journey scene at that altar. An island far offshore, shrouded in mist. And the angel itself, this mutilated, dying angel made of slick oil, bound in a hollow plastic body. So you have those 3 clues. And again, your options for Young Jolly Junk are, how can Young Jolly Junk be transformed into something less destructive? Which is complexity 4. What's a safer place for Young Jolly Junk to reside? Complexity 6. Or what caused her to grow so rapidly? Which is complexity 8. And it's all in the keeper as well. Let's see, maybe let's pick up with Bastion and Zeph on the boat, the Broken Pearl. And I believe it was Wallop who was with you. Oh, cool. Yeah, you can. Yeah, thanks for the reminder in the chat. You were having a journey scene which got interrupted in a really chaotic fashion. So yeah, definitely think about it if you found a clue there. Just going back to this. Yeah, so while this boater, he was kind of wearing this expensive polo shirt. You can tell like this is not someone who's really worked a day in his life. Seems his little yacht was swept into this flotilla and tangled up with the other boats, and he's just glad to be off. And I don't think you're tangled up yet. You kind of have some options for where to go. And just for review, you can go to, you're in the channel itself, like you're at that flotilla. But you could also go to the Mortel Plastic Refinery or Keplin Textiles. Those are both kind of somewhere along the coast here. You can always go back to the beach, or you can kind of trawl around in this channel, and there's a special move for that to see if you find things.
Ooh, that's fun.
Mhm.
Once we got this guy on there, probably, and once Bastion's back on the boat, that is more important probably than this other guy. Uh, but I'm definitely going to, if Bastion seems down, I'm gonna like kind of scoot the boat away from all of this wreckage and this stuff that's gets taken, because that's the last thing I want to do. I don't want to get stuck here with all of these people. Jesus, no. But I don't have anywhere in particular I'm heading when I'm just kind of like pulling away, and also kind of pulling away from the people who are like shouting, because I don't want to really get into the less altercations the better. I want to get something out of this guy. So Bastion has the floor with Wallop while I'm getting us a little further out of danger.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you. I was just thinking that if you're probably like pulling away, he's like, finally out of that tangle. But I think unless you're like going back to the coast, he's probably going to start to be like, hang on, like, where are you taking me?
So how did you end up tangled up in all of this? Bastion will ask him, sort of gesturing back at the fleet. I hear there's a god on the rampage or something. I don't suppose you saw anything, did you?
It was well, I heard there was some sort of controversy, something happening down here. I was just taking my yacht for a little cruise, just enjoying the sights, thought maybe I'd kind of see things from a distance, but it's not exactly passable, is it? Kind of gestures towards the mass, and got caught up in much more than I just don't really try to avoid politics, Let's make an information move here.
Sure thing.
Yeah, I think presence would make sense.
That sounds good to me.
And you can roll with advantage, I will say, because your previous role, like you rescued him, that was the whole thing, and he's kind of in your debt.
Sure thing. That is a 9.
Right. Okay, so get a clue with a complication. While that's happening, what's Zeph up to here?
Definitely not going back to the coast. I don't care where this person wants to go. At all. I'm busy. We're busy. We're doing stuff. And so I think I am probably headed towards that plastic refinery, just because, well, 2 things. 1, sounds potentially related. 2, could be some cool scraps I could scrap and steal.
Oh yeah.
So 2 for 2,
Absolutely. Yeah, let's see here. He starts talking about, controversy that he's heard here, about sort of this trash god, young Jolly Junks, turns out to be quite popular. Almost her followers are kind of fanatics, if I'm honest, from the impression I get. And there seems to be some sort of showdown. Maybe they're kind of getting ready to confront. Guess they just weren't happy with, the factories here, and yeah, kind of getting into disputes. But I think you earlier, David, you described like an oil tanker, I think, going up towards one of the factories.
That's right. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the clue, he kind of holds up this thing he's found where it's a recruitment flyer for holy activists, to do with young Jolly Junk. And it's sort of, it's saying things like, a clean river over all else at whatever cost, remove stop polluting our pure rivers and that kind of thing. We'll come back to that as well. Let's go to Dr. Quick. I assume you're not sticking around this diner for very long, and if you and Merriweather are kind of going separate ways next.
Yeah, I'm absolutely heading out to the car park to, I guess, see Merriweather off and try and ponder this clue from the journey scene. I think if it's okay, this is kind of hinting towards the eventual way I'd like to try and answer the question, but maybe it occurs to Dr. Quick, now carrying this miracle parasite, that there must be a reason that someone whose business is drugging and potentially killing people in moth cocoon tapestries, selling their bodies onto scientists to be experimented on, would also have a parasite that brings you back to life. And as he's standing there in the car park, the thought that just occurs to him is, what's better than an experiment? An experimental subject you can use again and again and again. And I think he is going to think that maybe the people that were abducted from the floating market are still alive, having been revived over and over again and are being kept somewhere, therefore.
Oh, wow.
So for the clue, I guess, yeah. Victim still alive and somewhere nearby.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of how we'd stumble across that. Maybe it's like in the time since you've been, like you said, you're reflecting or kind of putting things together, and that's like a strong suspicion.
Yeah, and I think
that
maybe
those things exist. Yeah.
Exactly. Looking at the bones left around that saint and thinking what a waste it is, all these victims that have been delivered to this this many-limbed chef.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great. When you get a chance, if you wouldn't mind putting that into the keeper. And do you know where you want to go next as far as the floating market locations? We can recap those two.
Yeah, well, I think he's working towards the theory that obviously to neutralize Gabriel, he's going to want to find where they're being kept. So I think perhaps heading back to the floating market, keeping his distance because he's a known quantity at this point, and just trying to watch Gabriel in his shop to see, can he learn anything about where this location might be where the victims are kept.
Great. Yeah, that's really cool. I like where that's going. We'll come back to that then. And Merriweather. So Merriweather, I assume you are just going to take the van for now. Or I've lost track. I think the others took the van, right? We get to make up how you travel, because I want to add in this setting, as John's helped describe it to me. There's all kinds of abandoned cars that can be hotwired or just stolen. There's whole communities and neighborhoods and towns that are just kind of devastated, like this, a bit of a post-apocalyptic kind of landscape in random places where some miracle has happened. And so we have a lot of room to hand wave how you get from place to place. But I just thought I'd put that out there as well.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that Merriweather finds a bicycle, and maybe she has to like cut the weeds away from where they've like grown up around the wheels.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's still in good enough shape.
So not a motorbike, like a bicycle.
Like a bicycle, yeah.
Awesome. Great. Okay. So I'm going to go to a journey scene, and just to mention, per the journey move, you can also, if you're traveling alone, of course, traveling alone is not recommended in your training pamphlets that are supposed to count as full training as members of the Bureau. They don't recommend traveling alone for safety, but you suspect also, so they can have custodians keep tabs on each other, that sort of thing. But for game rules, if you're traveling alone, you can clear a condition by doing your personal ritual. I don't think you don't have a condition, but you can still use that to find a clue. What was your personal ritual again?
That is a great question. I'm gonna check right now. It is reciting poetry.
Oh, cool. It's fun. I'll describe this journey scene and then we'll kind of see what you want to do with it. So this is one that can repeat multiple times. I just realized as I said that I might interpret that a few ways. So it could be that you passed by the same spot, or you might come across something similar on another journey scene. But this is an artist's mural. So you've seen them before from the road, vibrant swirls of color and confounding patterns painted along the sides of trains, a crumbling brick wall, an abandoned vehicle, an old water tower, a slanted roof. The form varies, but the intent is clear. These murals contain experimental prayer marks that might affect the viewer. So, cut and paste, it's always a struggle. Okay, there we go. So the painting that you see, Merriweather, this painting is curious, with spiraling green tendrils creeping from its borders to explore the environment. I think this is on the side of an abandoned, maybe it used to be some sort of convenience store, little roadside shop of some sort. The roof's completely caved in. It's pretty much a skeleton, brick walls, but you see this mural. What shapes seem to shift and stir as if trying to break free from it? And really quickly, if you want to incorporate this, it's up to you. But for your recall a time prompt, when did you learn a secret that could not be contained? And how did it get out despite your best effort? So I'll leave you with those prompts for a second. Think about it. If you want to incorporate your personal ritual, a lot of things you could do in those directions. So let's get back to Bastion and Zeph really quick. The complication of this clue, this pamphlet, is that I think as you're going to, as Zeph, as you were going towards the plastic refinery, you hear another motor kind of gaining on your sluggish tugboat here. You kind of look out the window, and it's a smaller motorboat that has not been tangled up in the flotilla. And you see a few people standing in there. Some of them are carrying nets, maybe almost like it's unclear if they're weapons, but it looks like long hooked staffs for like maybe picking up trash, but also maybe for kind of fighting people who are polluting the river. And I think you notice that they have like they're wearing shirts with a very large smiling otter kind of symbol, cartoonish otter, which is young Jolly Junk, of course. And they're shouting as they're kind of pulling up alongside your boat, which of course is like sputtering, leaking oil. It's this wreck of a boat, and they're pretty pissed off. They want to try to intercept you here.
I'm like, are you talking to me? Me? Are you? And he like looks around as if there's another person they could be trying to address.
Mm-hmm.
And like, how are they like pretty close?
I think it's that point where you kind of hear this motor approaching, and they're kind of shouting angrily at you. Like maybe you can't make out words yet, but you can kind of start to pick up the vibe. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna see if this boat can go faster.
Oh, nice.
Because I lean out and I'm like, oh, they look violent. I don't really want to get stabbed today.
You do have a move that might work here.
Dude.
All right. Yeah.
Yes, I've been waiting for an excuse to use this move. Would you like me to read it?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
So this is my
Still getting a feel for this keeper too. There's so much information in here. see. It is your Sacred Conduit, is that right?
I think B
Oh, is B
might
frozen?
froze
I
Yeah,
was
B's
looking at the
frozen.
sheet. Oh no. It's like, right, really. We'll come back to B. In the sacred currents here. Oh, there we go.
Hi.
Hello.
The Saint Electric, I think, is punishing me because my electricity just flashed and turned off my internet for a second.
Oh
So,
wow.
as soon as I started to read, I don't know what I've done.
It's okay. You had to pause the screen while you did something with that circuitry back there. I won't judge.
Exactly.
You know,
It's fine. It's fine. Shh. It's fine. I'm gonna make it up to her because my starting move is Sacred Conduit. A spark of the Saint's power still lives within you. When you channel the divine currents of the Saint Electric, mark a charge box and make your next roll with advantage. If another move already gives you advantage, roll with double advantage. Roll 4 dice and take the high. It tells you how to do double advantage. And there's 3 charges. And when the charge track is full, an arc of raw divine current erupts from your body. And there are 3 different things that can happen.
and we can leave it at that for
We
now
can
too.
leave it that it's a mystery. Don't
Yeah,
worry about it. It's
let's
so
save the
safe.
surprise.
It's so safe. But yeah, I think I don't want to get stabbed today. I have other plans for later. So and when I realize this boat is just like it's as fast as it can go, I grab the I really wish I knew boat part names.
Yeah, I can't help you much there.
No,
Tiller? Is that steering wheel? I
maybe
mean, steering
the
wheel?
steering bit.
It's
I
tugboat.
grab,
I don't know.
you know, I put my hand on what would be the dash on a car
Mhm.
and whisper some words to the Saint Electric, and it just like a lightning flash. And I'm gonna roll. What do I roll with?
Awesome. Vitality up. Well, let's see. This doesn't say. I think this could be a few things. Maybe I like it being communion though,
That's fun.
because you are, yeah. And this is a rare move as far as this gives you advantage, but if you really want to push it, you can like mark an item to get double advantage. I don't think there's any other way to do that in the game if you're feeling wild.
Oh, that's fun. I don't know if I have an item that would really work
Okay,
with this.
sure.
I don't know, maybe why not? Let's just get wild with it.
Sure.
The lightning scar that forms a prayer mark or a sacred symbol as a
Ooh, yeah.
conduit.
Yeah.
Let's mark that with, so that's a double advantage, and we get to do that wild math.
So 4
and
dice and take the 2 highest.
okay. So that is an 11.
Amazing. Yeah. Oh, it does say vitality. Sorry. So that's probably even better.
Oh,
isn't
well,
it?
don't worry, I have 0 on both.
That's when it's full. I'm reading it. Okay, yes, you're good. So full success. You kind of described it. Anything else you want to add for what we see?
I think we pan in to Zeph touching the dash and the spark and the current going through like under his skin, and then we go to the outside where Bastion is with Wallop, and they just hear a and a flash, like maybe something exploded in there or caught fire, but it's fine, and then it's gone. It's just over, and we are zooming. We are like doubles timing towards these factories.
Love it. Yeah, you see them kind of fading back in the distance behind you. Never really got a chance to hear what they're shouting at you, but you were getting the sense. And you see them kind of drift back towards the flotilla. Yeah. We'll come back to you all as you approach the plastic refinery. Let's go to Dr. Raymond. If you're ready, John.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. So you're going back to the antique shop, right?
I think I'm probably going to head to the Pox monks in order to spy on the antique shop. So figuring that if anyone is likely to shelter me or cover for me, it'll be them. I'm going to go
Yeah.
visit my brethren in arms again and try and get a sense of what where Gabriel might be storing these bodies that he's reviving.
Yeah, and you've already talked to them a little bit before. That works. I think along the way, again, picking your way across these little makeshift, drawbridges between boats and along the docks, you kind of have to like edge your way past this soothsayer who's people are lining up with their different wares. Like before they buy them, they're kind of like testing it out, and the soothsayer is like waving a yew wand over these wares and loudly declaring them to be blessed or cursed. And this is causing all sorts of controversy as then the vendors are coming up to dispute this. And it almost seems like bribes are being exchanged. And this whole many layers to this market, you're realizing how business happens. Yeah, but you can definitely, I would say, do the information move from the Guttle and Croak's barge if you're kind of spying across to Relics Reborn.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Sounds like this would be insight.
Insight.
I'm just going to check your conditions. I'm trying to think if any of that would mess with you right now. Mold, I think the mold spores might affect you because this is where they originally infected you. I think, right? You were inspecting the body here. Yeah. So I think that would be a disadvantage unless you want to mark something or do something else.
No, I'll go with it. So my insight's pretty good, +2, so I'm going to rely on that to save me. That is a 3 and a 1, so 4 +2 is 6.
We'll come back to the miss here. Poor doctor here, getting right back into it. Right. Merriweather, any thoughts on this journey move?
Yeah, so for the question about the mural, I think we see Merriweather, I think she finds the bike kind of leaning against this old convenience store wall. And as she's extricating the bike wheels from the weeds, she sees sort of shadows moving in the mural, like from the corner of her eye. Like they could be cast by the branches of nearby trees, but there's something unnatural about it. And it looks like a flurry of black feathers, like a bird trying to escape from a tangle of vines. And I think as though, like almost unbidden, a little poem that Merriweather knows comes to mind. This is an actual poem. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but there's a poem called Song by Bridget Picking Kelly that's beautiful, and I recommend that everyone reads it. But I think the words that Merriweather whispers to herself are, "The boys would wake in the night thinking they heard the wind in the trees, or a night bird, but their hearts beating harder. There would be a whistle, a hum, a high murmur, and at last a song. The low song a lost boy sings, remembering his mother's call. Not a cruel song. No, not cruel at all. This song is sweet. It is sweet. The heart dies of this sweetness." And as she says those words, the shadows in the mural stop moving, and the image sort of finally resolves for her. She can finally tell like what the whole of the painting is supposed to be, and she sees, I think, a human body splayed, tarred, and feathered, with this rapturous expression on his face and its mouth open as if in song. And I think that image is the clue that she'll get here.
Oh, cool. Amazing. So that's the love that how that's echoing what we had kind of hinted at before too. You wouldn't mind writing that in the tab when you have a chance in the assignment tab.
I shall write
Is
it
that
right now.
for the Dusk Mother, I assume?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, that's really gorgeous. Yeah, eventually, again, we're playing fast and loose with geography here, and who knows, like that can change. Some god could have warped the landscape, and the map that you had 1 week could no longer really apply to some of these rural territories. We don't really know what time and distance are in this context very well, except that I think, on your bike, you're going further into kind of isolated rural single lane roads winding between trees. You're seeing occasional, looks like ruins of a cabin, rusty, broken down pickup truck. And I think at some point there's a small sign that just says Weft. It's pointing, you realize you're on the right track. And you pull into what amounts to a small town here. Let's pull this up here and we'll describe it. So the town of Weft itself, you pull onto this main street full of potholes and weeds. There's just a couple very old storefronts with cracked windows and faded signs. Looks like maybe a general store, maybe some kind of cafe or old tavern of some kind. Boarded up buildings. There's abandoned cars with flat tires. There's another rusty bike, this one chained to a tilted signpost. You haven't really seen people along this ride, but you kind of hear the distant sounds of some sputtering generator, some hammering like someone's repairing something, and a lone dog barking. Let's have everyone answer this paint the scene question. Here, by all appearances, this town is dying out, but how can you tell that some residents still care for it fiercely?
A well-tended window garden in one of the houses that you see. It's just like a windowsill. It's about yay big, but it is very clearly well maintained.
Nice.
There's a town sign that's the wood is kind of warped and damaged by the rain. It's the sort of what varnish was on there is flaking off in big lumps, but the name of the town itself has recently been whitewashed back on in bold letters.
Nice.
I think we see what are clearly a couple of real estate carpetbaggers, two men in expensive suits who are kind of running, their brochures and leaflets fluttering behind them as stones are flung at them by a small crowd of local residents. Go, get out of West! Get out of our town! And as they kind of leap back into their van, they go, let us know if you change your mind. Property prices in this area, it's very reasonable. Drive, 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 and skid away into the distance.
That's fantastic. I think there are these little like makeshift bird feeders everywhere, as though someone is sort of determined that even if the town dies out, even if everyone is forced eventually to leave, there will be some small living things that still make their home here.
Love the picture we're getting here. I'll describe a couple of places you could go from here, and then we will jump back over to Dr. Quick for a second. So it's barely a town. It's almost like an intersection with a couple old storefronts. But all around there are the clutching woods, which you could go into. Somewhere connected to here, somewhere nearby, is the Skeleton Ranch, which is the family in question here. So you could go try to visit them. Of course, somewhere you're looking for where the nest is and all of this. And there's a couple other nearby locations. There is the processing plant, so Hopworth Industries, which is kind of where some of this report came from, a nearby meat packing plant. And there's also a nearby abandoned lumber mill. So be thinking about where you might want to go, or you could also continue to poke around the town. But Dr. Quick, I think the complication here of this full miss is, I think it's the two conditions you have and the location you are, because you have one that you've taken on deliberately because you are a pox monk, the miraculous parasite, which who knows what this thing is. This is maybe some new experimental god, but last session you had drawn it out of Merriweather's flesh, which was like this almost glowing little worm. Could you remind me how you took that on? Like where that was in you or something? Did we establish that?
I don't remember if we did, because we moved quite quickly to the
Yeah.
many-limbed chefs, but I imagine it's just kind of like slightly over his heart, hugging his chest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that's kind of like, under the skin somewhere, whatever. It's a hopefully benevolent parasite. And the mold spores. But I think there's some kind of like reaction that starts to happen with you. And you don't notice this right away, but the other pox monks here, Guttle and Croak, who they're pretty strange, right? One of them almost seems like amphibian-like, one is almost stork-like, and they're this weird fish nets and robes, and they kind of look at you and goes, doctor, you need to lay down. We must attend to you. And you feel the pulsation of the miraculous parasite. You kind of see a bit of a glow starting to happen under your skin. You feel woozy from these mold spores, and almost like the edges of your vision starting to grow dark. The way I'm going to treat this mist, though, is that they, unless you want to mark a verse to change this, they're going to insist on treating you as best they know how. And from what we talked about last time, some of this is very maybe not the most conventional medicine. A lot of incantations and smoke and pulling substances out of buckets and leeching and all kinds of strange, folk magic and folk medicine. So who knows what it's going to involve, but they're going to insist on, as a fellow doctor, they will put you in their care and try to rid you of this affliction.
I love it. I mean, I'm really happy to say that consequence, but I would really like a clue, and I'm tired of failing. So I think I'm going to mark up a verse.
Nice.
I'm going to mark up the Whispered Palm to try and get the mixed success.
Excellent. Great. So instead, you do find a clue. I'm going to think a bit more about the complication. I think it won't be that you're on the verge of passing out. Look at our clues here for a second. Actually, let me come back to clues. I want to give that enough time. Yeah, it is really fun in the chat to have that narrative control. Okay, I owe you a clue and a complication. We'll come back to that. So Bastion and Zeph. Zeph has turbocharged this tugboat somehow, and you're now approaching the Mortel plastic refinery. Let's go to that really quick. So I think as you approach it, you kind of get a sense, again, same with boats. I don't know how factories work, how refineries work, but we're going to get to fill in these details soon enough. You get the impression of new machinery, and from a distance, it's engraved with the symbol of the living polymer, this god of manufactured materials, which I'm picturing is almost like when you see those slow motion, like droplets hitting milk or something, there's like the little splash with the different, like that pattern. So maybe its head is kind of branching out in all directions, different limbs becoming, maybe it's holding different products in it. Each limb is kind of like a many-limbed deity of modern convenience. There's maybe right along the water, there's docks with stacks of boxes and things still being being put into crates, just bright colors of like cheap disposable toys and furniture, and the hum of some sort of conveyor belts, where you kind of see something going, and just plastic waste, just piles, just kind of going right into the river. Um, and this is a paint the scene for everyone. What in this? I'm sorry, I'm trying to paste it at the same time. What in this factory seems beautiful, but is really hiding something utterly grotesque?
I think that they have painted on, like, you know, the doors, the doors that, like, you can put the big truck doors. Wow, it's really clear. I don't know words for things.
That's how
But
we get
like,
there. Yeah.
yeah, the big truck door, you know,
Yeah.
that they have painted when they're closed. It's these, like, it's super cute, like, scenery. It's almost cartoonish, but every time there's that and they open it, the inside is dark and grimy, and you can smell this, like, acrid burning plastic and metal.
I think that there's a um, like a room set up with a big long like dining table, and there's bottles of drink, and you know, like fizzy drinks and stuff like that. There's sort of food on the table. Looks kind of very you know, mass produced food, but you know, nicely laid out on big platters and stuff. Until you and you know, it all looks perfectly nice until you realize that all of this food is also a product of the living polymer.
Oh, like it's just made of plastic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Microplastics of every sort.
I am picturing. So this is. I'm sorry, Gabriel. This is the living polymer, isn't it?
Mhm.
I'm picturing some kind of saint in the center of the factory who's almost kind of dressed up like a big plastic toy, like this universe's equivalent of a Lego man, where kind of almost the skin seems plastic and hard, and he's just dangling there, rocking back and forth, unable to move.
Mm. And maybe that's even peeking up from the walls of this. I'm picturing the scale of it. That's pretty great.
I think there's a large portrait of the factory owner on the wall with sort of this benign smile on their face, kind of looking out over all of the workers. But this portrait was just put up about a week ago to cover a blood stain from a workplace accident.
Amazing. In fact, that is a portrait of Beth Mortell, who's the factory mogul, and um, I'm picturing like it's pretty well detailed, and we're gonna hand wave technology and everything like that. Like whether it's some divine way of manifesting this, maybe it's like almost like 3D printed, but through this god. But you see that she has graying hair that's been dyed, kind of smart suit, very very neat appearance, um, beaming out over the workers. Um, so yeah, I assume you all pull up somehow. What's your next approach here? I think Wallop, your passenger, um, is kind of looking to you like good, yeah, off the river it would be great. Wow, I didn't know you could make this thing. You if you could take a look at my boat, I'd love to. Maybe we should race boats. He's just kind of like caught between total confusion and then kind of impressed despite himself of Zeph's antics here.
Ah, maybe some. I would, you know, you're welcome to get off here if you like. We're probably going to make a stop, but I would love to sort of settle our payment situation before we move on.
Yeah. I think there's a clue or an advantage of some kind here, which would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
I think yeah, maybe he actually is like, oh well, if you're going for a factory tour, it's actually great. I used to take the nephews out here. I know Beth, she's great, you know, it's just one of her latest really doing great things with plastics, and I can introduce you if you like.
I would love that. Wouldn't that be fabulous, Bastion? Fabulous, right?
Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the future, you know. It's takes any form you call it to really make anything for you if you give it, you know, keep it fed, keep it happy. Right
Of
ingredients
course.
can turn into anything you want. Um, yeah, he thinks this is great. He'll happily lead you to meet the mogul here, the factory head. So cool. We'll come
Sick.
back to that. Um, if you want, that's a very direct approach.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
Zeph's down. This seems
You kind of
way
blazed in
easier.
here on this tugboat, so yeah, it's no stealth.
He's not stealth.
Yeah, no. Cool. Let's go back to Merriweather then. You are in Weft. You got a few options where you could explore. What's your first thought here, Elle?
So I think Merriweather is going to approach some of the townspeople that she sees, but at first she'll kind of hang back, fish her camcorder out of her little backpack, and she'll sort of try to watch the people unnoticed, sort of filming them before they see her approaching to just get a sense of who these people are when they don't think anyone's watching.
Yeah, this would be the information move. I think um, with focus because you don't want to draw attention to what you're doing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds good. That is, ooh, that's a 13.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Um, so you'll get a clue, some kind of advantage. I think some of the townsfolk who are driving off the real estate agents um kind of see you from a distance, kind of eyeing you quizzically, and then I think a few of them, if they see a camcorder come out, they kind of back off and turn their back on you and leave, like they don't seem to want anything to do with you. But I think um as you're kind of casually doing this and panning around, you see that there's um see someone is tending to that really well maintained window garden. But strangely, um, we see this man, silver afro, kind of vest with a lot of pockets and pouches, maybe like a fanny pack, a satchel. Looks like a lot of gardening um, tools, and is kind of tending to that carefully. But then you see him kind of move down and start to like dig in the dirt. There's sort of gaps in the cracked concrete, and kind of notices you filming, kind of gives you a cheery wave, and then you see him kind of just like look in awe at something he's discovered and excitedly starts pulling away rocks and actually ushers you over. It says, "Ah, yes, you. Someone else must witness. What a miracle! What a vision!" And starts pulling up. First, you think it's like strands of a plant, but you realize it's some like mushroom. Um, taking liberties with how it works, but I think like stretched like mushrooms connected to more mushrooms. Just reborn from the churning deep. A blessing would be an insult to call this a mere mushroom. Beautiful is it not? And holds it up to you.
Uh,
And yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, Merriweather focuses the camera on the mushrooms and sort of gasps performatively, like it's the most beautiful thing she's ever seen. Wow. Yeah, this is like I was gonna say the Brad Pitt of mushrooms, but I don't know if Brad Pitt
Yeah.
exists in the Silt Verses.
Sure, sure.
You get a lot of miracles from the ground around here.
More than people would think. The roots reach far, the messages spread far. It's really the forest is beneath us. It's not out there. I'm curious actually, with the camcorder and with the god that you're connected to, is there anything ever different with what you perceive on the screen? Is there any kind of interaction there that happens or that you want to explore? Because I'm thinking of a clue where you might see something different because you're filming it. There might be some different perception going on.
Yeah, definitely. I think there is something, um, you know, that supernatural or like perhaps divine even about the camcorder. So, um, yeah, lay it on me.
Yeah. Let me come back to that actually, because I think
Cool.
I want to give it a little more time, but with the 13, we'll keep that in mind. And let's actually take a 5-minute break here if we can. I'll catch up with clues and then we'll cycle back around. All right, so see you in 5. Okay, I think let's jump back to Dr. Raymond Quick, who you'd marked a verse. So instead of sort of being on the verge of passing out and needing immediate treatment by Guddle and Croak, um, first I'll give you the clue that you observe. Um, it's that the river currents seem to be behaving differently um, around that barge. Um, Repeated symmetrical patterns. I'll leave that vague until you all kind of put the clues together. But you're starting to realize just as you're coming back, because you've done this before, you observed, I think, the antique barge from a distance, and you're just noticing there's different patterns that don't follow the rest of the river. So there's something else strange afoot there. But all the same, your other conditions, I think the complication is that Guttle and Croak still like do see you and say, we a little concerned, doctor. Why don't you take a rest for a second? Have some of our maybe perhaps a rejuvenating tonic or a steaming smoke treatment, sort of cleanse your aura, maybe set you right again.
Dr. Quick gives them the politest smile he can muster and says, "That would be lovely, thank you. Um, it's rather interesting over there with the current, isn't it?" And as they turn to look, he is going to just dash the tonic into the river. They're like, it's very good, very, very tasty.
Nice, nice. Um, yeah, and I think the complication then will be just that you kind of get stuck in a longer conversation. They start going on about like, oh, well, the signs, the currents do behave differently, and I think they even like talk about different theories. The pull of planetary bodies, the even sometimes the act of noting currents changes them. So perhaps they're doing a lot of map making over there and recording and speaking aloud about the movements of the tides. And the river has agreed with their interpretation. And they start arguing with each other. And it just becomes a convoluted, very, very out there theoretical conversation, which is
It's
the way they
fascinating, siblings, fascinating. I did mean to ask, when I first came here, I noticed that your setup was far more professional than honestly many hospitals in Glottich. Um, Obviously, you need to have some good disinfectant on hand. I was wondering, do you happen to have any formaldehyde you'd be willing to share with me?
Ooh, nice. Let's come back to that. We'll do another information move, I think. Because I feel like if they do, it's gonna be really weird. Great. So you have another clue. I think, oh, let me get back to Merriweather as well, so I don't lose track of your clue. So I'm going to give you a clue and then also a conspiracy clue. The clue is that as well, this gentleman introduces himself as Cletus Ford. Welcome to our humble town. He says, might not look like much, but as I said, miracles, wonders, the real forest below stretches much further than folks realize. And he's pulling up this mushroom with strands coming from the soil. And the clue is that it's almost like an owl pellet. It sort of clumps this mushroom body, and as he kind of holds it up, and I think maybe you see this through your camcorder. You can tell this isn't just like mushrooms and soil. There are bone fragments, little bits of feathers that are clustered in here, kind of like an owl pellet. That's the clue. But he notices this as well. He says, this, this takes me back to, I've been here a while, you see, and this takes me back to the 22nd day of outpourings, I think it was, Fester's Day. And this, I think he actually unfolds a newspaper clipping from his wallet, and it just says, Institute faces backlash for involvement with the devourer below. So I'll paste it here, actually. It says, they thought they could tell the forest how to behave. They could expand the growth just however they wanted, but this back then they called it the devourer below, but around here we call it writhes beneath the loam.
Merriweather takes off her sunglasses to look closely at the document, and she'll look back up to Cletus. So I take it people around here don't take too kindly to outsiders trying to tell them how to steward their town. I gotta say I respect it, actually.
I think it's what keeps us going, keeps us together. What we have, we do care for in our own way. And well, if you go look at the lumber mill, you'll see it didn't amount to much. It's mostly mushrooms are running that operation now. Yeah, I think if you kind of see your camcorder window, I'll just leave that to your interpretation with a clue in the future. But I think that like it's called writhes for a reason. Maybe you kind of have some indication of like more of a presence to this strand of this mushroom. We'll come back to that. Bastion and Zeph, you are being offered a tour of this plastic refinery. And yeah, give me a second here. Well, we already described it actually. So yeah, we have that big like plastic, well, not necessarily plastic, but like the big saint that sounds like, or limbs, all this sort of garish colors of plastic toys and furniture and products everywhere. But you're able to kind of go right up and through the doors, and we'll just cut to Beth Mortell. You meet her. You hear her actually as you walk up. She's looks like she's giving a little briefing to some of the employees here, and they're all in some kind of hazmat looking suits, all with the same image of the god of living polymer. And she's saying, bless our carbon chain divinity, the products by which modern life is lived. Remember, if it breaks, there will be another just like it in no time at all. Now, what shall we make for the good citizens of the peninsula today? Keep that in mind. And kind of sends them off. And there you are. Because, oh, Wallop, my friend, you brought not the nephews this time, and is kind of looking at the two of you.
Bastion is at this point carrying the saint from the boat, probably dripping oil onto the floor.
Oh my god, I know you brought it.
See her pause, like a new product design. Normally we take proposals. We see the blueprints first. Isn't allowed to make this.
No, I'm bringing this one home. I think I don't know if that's here or not. I'm trying to find out. But it seemed a good place to start.
Oh, I love that. I think this will be fun to do the veiled move. This is so bold. And like we don't know how this thing may respond either. What are you afraid might go wrong here? Whether socially, divinely, whatever, however you want to interpret it.
I think what I'm afraid of going wrong here is the saint reacting violently to being brought to this place.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Let's do the roll with communion, I think.
Sure thing.
And I think actually because of your condition, this would be disadvantage unless you want to do anything to change that.
That sounds very appropriate here. Yeah,
the Ghost of Living Polymer. I think, and to set it up too, I think as you're walking closer, I think its voice, it's more insistent, it's more urgent, and because of your own sensitivity to these things, you're feeling its pain and its anguish.
That is a total of 3.
No. Okay. We last described this as sort of like a plastic mass-produced statue of some sort of god, I think. But I think as you're carrying it, as you're walking closer to this place, closer to that larger statue or whatever that John described earlier, the plastic starts to lose its rigidity. It starts to get softer and heavier and melts, and it starts to clutch onto you desperately. Just whatever is inside of it wanting to not be in its current form. And I think if it's okay with you, I think it's whatever is in this form is seeking to like claim your form instead, to be free of this other one. Or we can interpret that differently if you like.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
I think Zeph, you in the middle of this awkward pause, maybe you're looking to and fro, and then you just kind of see Bastion is now caught up in the clutches of this weird plastic thing that's kind of melting and stretching and embracing him.
I think Zeph looks at this display and looks at Beth and goes, "Are your products supposed to do that?"
I think she just kind of goes pale and shouts for the staff. And I think unless Dave, we can roll with this. It'll be some other probably revelation move here, but I think those staff in hazmat suits come running with looks like some sort of they pick up some looks like maybe even pesticide tanks, hoses, getting ready to, who knows, blast you with something to negate this. But of course, you're caught in the middle of it.
Yeah, I think I am going to mark a verse here because I would like to try and get this lay this saint to rest rather than have them be dissolved by
yeah.
You don't want to be a plastic saint? What?
Write a new playbook quick. Yeah, I think instead, as you're carrying this in, because I forget before if I said that only you could hear its voice, but I think it just starts to gurgle and moan, and everyone can hear it nearby. And Beth just kind of like snaps the other staffs, "Get this out of here!" Like, and it kind of ushers you to another like staging area. So you're kind of going further into the factory, but just like out of sight of these new trainees and any other visitors that might be there.
Awesome. Yeah.
And we'll cut back to that. All right. Let's see. Dr. Quick. Yeah, at some point it takes up some of your time, but oh, you were asking about if they had formaldehyde or something.
Formaldehyde.
Is that right?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I think this could be an information move. If I think they'll say like, well, of course, well, we don't have direct sources of such things, but we could probably produce the equivalent. And I think they'll basically offer if you want to kind of look over some of their supplies, kind of see how the roll goes. If you can make an information move with insight here.
Insight. Because the roll's gone so badly, do I? No, I've saved advantage that really matters.
I'm trying to remind,
and of course, I got a 4, so that is 6. So that's a miss.
Oh no. Oh gosh. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I think, and as they're trying to show you their supplies, I think they're gonna spill some bucket of something horrible without meaning to. Let me think about that for a second. Merriweather, so you've been given this clue. You are learning a little bit about maybe more about the locations here, the history of this town. What's your next move here?
Yeah, I think she'll say to Cletus, well, I may have come from outside, but don't worry, I'm not here to try to buy up the town. I'm actually here to help. I'm a custodian with biased. We could probably use a better acronym.
So, sure. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend the woods unless you really know where to step. If you know the right trails.
Well, I was actually
such.
Wondering if there's anything I need to know if I'm heading out to Skelton Ranch. My organization's been trying to contact the people there for a while and no luck, so I thought I'd try my hand at it.
Well, we pride ourselves on being self-reliant around here, but those folks, they, even we try to reach out to them, we haven't seen much of them for a good while now. Kind of appears at you like, well, what do you want to track down? What wouldn't you go knock on the skeleton's door for? Let's do an information move here. I think could be with presence.
Sure, that sounds good. My dice luck turned very quickly. That is 8-3.
Oh man. All right. Let's see. I think with a 3, there's you see a truck driving by and it says Hopworth Industries on the side. And there's a couple employees there that start like setting up like caution tape, I think. Just like starting to block off one of the streets. And Cletus is like, "Oh, I see you're just, no offense, but I don't think you really understand our town or what our interests are here. That there's been a lot of disputes, a lot of bad things happening over at that meat packing plant, and I understand organizations, bureaus want to come here and protect their interests and keep production moving, but we don't need none of that here." And I think kind of like withdraws from the conversation, but kind of warily from you, but also like he doesn't really want to be around and be a part of anything happening here. You see like other staff from this truck get out and kind of start going to interview other people, and kind of like very official looking Hopworth Industries staff. Maybe they're doing their own investigation, and they'll one of them approaches you directly, and he looks pretty bleary-eyed, week old stubble, stain reflective safety jacket, stained boots. It says, ma'am, this area is under quarantine. I recommend this isn't a good town for tourists. I know you want to take your pictures and everything. I'd go further up the coast to more of the picturesque towns. You know, get your scenic photos, but it's not safe for you to be here. So
yeah, Merriweather will cross her arms over her chest, mostly to cover the biased patch that's on her anorak.
Yeah.
And she'll say, "Yeah, I hear you loud and clear. I was just heading out." And
so
I think
go ahead.
she's unless someone else wants to say something or something else happens, she's gonna get on her bike and head out to Skeleton Ranch.
Nice. Yeah. Take the condition marked by Hopworth Industries for
Cool.
now. Great. Okay, so I'm trying to not leave anyone hanging for too long here. Dr. Raymond, you rolled a miss just recently.
Give it to me. Go on.
Because you were looking for formaldehyde. What was your goal here? Just curious what you were thinking. Like,
I was thinking ahead to the
Preservation.
fact that we need to neutralize this strange spore, and formaldehyde obviously could be a good disinfectant, but it could also be an explosive. So I was looking for something that could maybe be used to take out the mold.
yeah. Yeah, I think let me scroll up to this real quick. I think what accidentally gets poured is sort of a bit of a concentrated. Let's see here. Oh yeah. Well, two things spill, which you kind of realize in your horror as you're kind of like wiping off the substance off of you. Because again, they've been arguing, they're kind of clamoring, they're like, no, he needs this. Here's our supplies, and trying to show you it's this cramped boat. And the first substance that spills on you is very like acidic, vinegary, very briny. Pour the glass shatters. You see a bit of this label that says Croak's Invigorating Vinegar Tonic. You feel just like kind of like irritating your skin. And actually, then what happened? Then Guttle's like, "Oh no, you don't need that on you," and starts grabbing gobs of some sort of paste, almost to try to counteract it, and starts smearing some other substance on you. They're starting to argue with each other, like, "No, this is not supposed to be done in this order. This is supposed to be in small amounts." But you realize that it is Guttle's purging paste, which has been spread over you now. And again, you're having sort of weird counteracting substances starting to affect you. And yeah, we'll come back to that if you have any ideas about how that might affect you. I'm glad for any additions. It's sort of like you're getting the experimental treatment, even though you kind of declined it earlier.
Yeah, I imagine some kind of horrible itchy rash that makes him look quite hideous and might hinder his presence. And I think maybe just as this paste spreads over him, Dr. Raymond Quick just looks down at his hands, looks back at these two, and then says, "This, my siblings, has been one hell of a day. You know, our God is meant to be a kind God, isn't it? It's meant to help people. It's meant to have less of that cruelty, less of that arbitrary hunger of other gods. It's meant to help people. I tried to help a colleague earlier, and now I have a bug on my chest, and I got chased by a chef with a great many limbs. And now this. Am I a disciple of a god of clowns? Am I? Do I look like a disciple of a god of clowns to you? And he's just having a little temper tantrum on the boat, I imagine, as we leave him.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think man, I think there's got to be a funny condition here. I'm tempted to say it's sort of like quack doctor treatment because your name is Raymond Quick. They're kind of staring at you a little bit like unsure what to say, but you get the impression they're also almost fascinated to see what happens when someone has like taken this much of their experimental medicine at once. We'll come back to that. Yeah. Of course, again, you're always free to mark verses to change that, but we can roll with that. Meanwhile, at the Mortel Plastic Refinery, Bastion, you're not actually embraced by this this sort of polymer saint. You're ushered to another part of the factory, and you are able to like put it down. It's just that it's causing a bit of a commotion. What do you all do?
I looked at Bastion and I'm like, that went well.
I mean, I certainly wasn't expecting it to be quite as dramatic as all this, I guess. But well, maybe now we're here, I can find where this one belongs, and just kind of absently pats the saint on the shoulder.
And I think even with that last thing being redacted, Zeph does look at Beth like, does this always happen in
Of
your
course not.
factories?
We produce fine products. We're just here to produce whatever people need. And if everyone needs, instead of a shelf-sized statue, if they want a full garden-sized one, well, it's much more affordable than stone or marble, much easier to transport. I can't say this is anything that would have happened in our factory. Someone's gone and tampered with this, clearly.
Really? Has that been a problem recently, or?
Let's do an information move. Probably presence.
Yeah, I don't have any of that, but we gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
It's a 10.
Okay, nice.
Huh. I stole all of your luck. I'm sorry for on really inconsequential moves, I have to say.
Let's see. With the 10. I think oh yeah. Let me just double check that I didn't give you this clue previously. She says, no, someone has clearly tampered with this, and you're seeing it continue to gurgle, and there's like the oily substance on the inside spilling out. Because I almost guarantee this is from those. Well, there's those holy activists, the clean shore brigade, or whatever they call themselves. They don't like us being here. Hooks, nets,
yes. Oh yes.
Pick up all the trash. I mean, it's going to be remade into something better. It's our new program is actually recycling any sort of stray polymer, every sort of plastic.
Oh.
So we're really just giving people what they need in new forms. I don't see what the problem is. I think where was this? Sorry. Yeah, she holds up something that she's confiscated. Says, yeah, this one of our employees thankfully found this and brought it to our attention. I think they're trying to sabotage us and ruin our image. And it is a prayer manuscript that details how to make a saint of young Jolly Junk.
Oh shit. Wow, that is.
It's all propaganda. It's just trying to,
Extremists. I know these extremists. I cannot believe someone would try to do that. I
We've
mean,
offered to work with him. We offered to make, we could make young jolly statues, floating ones, right? It's already
of
hollow.
course, of
Children would love it,
course.
but no, no
Yeah.
luck so far.
Some people just don't appreciate how gods make our lives easier, you know? I mean, not they just walk by as if that they're a fact of life and you don't have to give in order to receive, you know?
Nodding along. It's
Yeah.
kind of like someone else, another employee is like was in the middle of taking notes. Like, no, you should write. This is good. You should write this down. This is a good thought. Perhaps. Um, and sorry, I didn't catch your name. Is what are you? You seem to have more of an interest than just kind of seeing. Most people want to see the new toys before they're out. Get a first look, which we're happy to do.
Well, first and foremost, we're friends of a wallop here, uh, who offered to give us a factory tour. Said you two were good friends.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and Wallop will kind of fill her in on again starts lamenting not only these extremists, but just in general kind of goes on a tirade about the manners of fishermen in this area and how much didn't appreciate making fun of his boat, things like that. Personally just wounded, um, but yeah, I think with a 10 on that roll as well, I think she'll basically have someone, if unless Bastion has other plans or wants to approach this differently, we'll probably try to have other staff sort of like take this thing away out of sight. But you're if you want to intervene in any way, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I think Bastion's going to say, of course, we're also looking out for any signs of, as you say, potential sabotage. He'll, pick up the scent again. So this is obviously evidence, as you say, that something is awry here. I don't suppose I could take a look at where the statues are produced, so I can see if there's any other things that may have gone. As you say, if you've already found dangerous materials, there may be more around, and it's probably best that I take a look at those.
Do you all kind of like announce that you're custodians, or are you trying to go with the like factory tour angle more?
Zeph won't announce that they're custodians. He kind of looks but Bastion seems to have like more of a goal here that is like, can be messed up. So he just kind of is like deferring to whatever he's doing.
Yeah, I don't think that Bastion's going to kind of immediately pull out the badge kind of thing. But at the same time, if they if they get curious, he's not going to try and hide it.
Sure. Yeah. We'll treat that as an information move. We'll jump back to that. I think just based on how things have gone, you're able to kind of look around a little bit with this tour idea. Yeah, let's get back to Merriweather. You were talking about going to approach the Skeleton Ranch.
Yes.
I described it's not a very big town. You can probably, if you mention the name, locals will know who you're talking about, and we'll give you general directions like, oh, they're out, the ranch is out that way. We don't really see much of them. So you can find your way over pretty easily. As you approach, it's at the edge of the woods, and there are these sort of pretty awful looking withered, maybe it used to be an orchard, withered trees that are kind of being hemmed in by the forest. There's a bit of a collapsed barn. Maybe it used to be a pond kind of a big stagnant mud puddle at this point, and a lot of overgrown sheds and vines and junk. But further back on the property, you can kind of see a little bit of a lodge. Maybe it's like the actual ranch home itself. Let's paint the scene for everyone. Paste it here. The skeletons have clearly left their farm to rot, but somehow managed to survive on the land. What surprising elements of the property have they maintained with care?
I think on the road up to the property, there's like a kind of wooden arch with the name Skeleton Ranch sort of carved into it carefully, almost like decoratively. And that arch has been painstakingly maintained as though they're very proud of the property or of the family name itself.
I think there is a
Nice.
small chicken coop. Very small, not factory size, more almost pet. And it is fabulously maintained. There might even be a few chickens around or some kind of bird. But it's clearly been, kept up, trimmed around and kept from falling down.
Nice.
I think that there are like telegraph poles and electric pylons that are all kind of still intact. The wires seem to be strung up well between them, even though sort of outside the edges of the farm they're not connected to anything, but within the bounds of the farm itself, they're still standing there.
And I think that maybe kind of in the backyard, there is a beautiful, magnificent old oak, and hanging from one of its thick branches is a very, very large and ornate iron bird feeder. The bars wound into interesting patterns, and inside is the mostly pecked away and devoured corpse of a man. A couple of crows just still kind of hungrily pecking away at it.
Wow. We started off small. I love it. Yeah, well, with all that, Merriweather, do you still want to approach this ranch? You can back away now,
No, she's gonna do it.
Nice.
Yeah, I think seeing that corpse up in the bird feeder, and just what she's heard about the skeletons so far, knowing that they're pretty like isolated out here, I think we see her kind of stop near the chicken coop, maybe lean the bike against it, and she's having a cigarette while she sort of works up an idea and approach. And I think she's realizing that like between the biking and the recently being a host for a parasite and the being clinically dead for a while, she's pretty tired.
Yeah.
Um, but she has to do the work. So I think eventually she pulls out the camcorder again and the tripod. And she sets it up for a little um preliminary performance to her god,
Oh, nice.
the Watcher in the Wings. She kind of wearily takes out these menthol drops that she has in the pocket of her anorak, and she kind of carefully drops them under her eyes. And as it starts to do its work and her eyes start to burn, she begins to cry. And she says into the camera, um, the the skeletons have been so kind to me. It's beyond belief, really, to treat a stranger from outside as one of your own, to welcome her with open wings, weeping with happiness, to cosset her and down and bring her in as one of your own, as a nestling just born, blind, to open her eyes to everything. It makes the heart sing. And she's hoping that this performance will be enough, that
Wow.
the watcher will
Yeah.
move one of the skeletons to come and bring her in kindly.
Oh, I love that. Wow. So this is your move being triggered. Um,
Yes.
there's no one to help you add to the narrative, so you can't really get that bonus from other custodians. But wow, let's see what happens here. I believe you just roll with presence, right?
Yes, that seems right.
To your, you have no. I don't think your condition would come into play here at all.
That's another 3.
Oh man. With the 3. Actually, let's look at the move real quick. I want to make sure I'm not missing the way it actually plays out. Doesn't have a miss. Oh, and a miss. Your performance flops. The Watcher speaks from the shadows to narrate his favorite kind of story instead, a tragedy that ends in blood. And you don't have the condition of disappointment, so that doesn't quite come into play. But I think we're looking at the camcorder screen, and this tearful recollection of what happened. I think instead we see coming from behind the barn, coming out of this ruined shed and the ranch itself. Several figures are kind of creeping up while you're facing the camera, giving this monologue, and it's the contrast is what's really causing this performance to ring a little bit hollow, because the skeletons are approaching and they're not looking on you kindly at all. They're seeing an intruder on their land. One of them almost looks like this sort of rather overgrown, shaggy, like lumberjack, maybe, him dragging some kind of rusty, heavy pitchfork along the ground. You see another of them crawling instead of walking, kind of very feral, just crawling through the underbrush, kind of almost starting to hiss at you. Mostly a tangle of long blonde hair. We don't really see the face. And coming in between them, we see almost like a grown-up doll, almost this caricature of just wearing like multiple dresses and petticoats and shawls, veil kind of partially over her face, and carrying a kind of cooing, chirping bundle and singing to it and saying, now, they're settled down. She won't hurt you. Don't worry, darling. And hushing, and you hear sort of very inhuman chirping, growling sounds coming from the bundle. It's like, oh, you're hungry. Don't worry. I think it's almost dinner time. And they start to advance on you, unless you wish to mark a verse.
I think I will mark a verse. Yeah.
Awesome. So in between, the performance is acceptable but not impressive. I think that means you're a disappointment. Because you're the only one who participated in it, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. But some detail of your performance is now true. How would you like to phrase that? That they've met you before, or that they look on you a little more kindly, I guess?
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe one of the skeletons is expecting me for some reason.
That's great. Yeah. Let's do that instead. Then instead, we'll say, let me scroll down for a second. I think you don't really know her actual name. She's just Sister. You kind of turn after your performance and you see that she's waiting for you, standing in front of the ranch. She has these deep, sad eyes which never blink. And she's the one I described with sort of overdressed lace and shawls. And you see her familiar dried flowers and feathers that are kind of arrayed in her hair and in her garments, and is singing to some bundle that she's carrying. And says, thought we'd never see you again. But you're here just in time for tea. Come on over. Baby would love to see you again. He loved your stories so very much. Let's go over to Dr. Quick. And remind me, okay, right, you had that condition, right? You sorry, sometimes I'm sort of soft pitching conditions. I didn't really name it. I can name it, but if you had an idea, I'm open to suggestions.
I think you said, what was it?
Quack
treatment.
Yeah.
Which I was happy with. But yeah, imagining it as
Cool.
kind of like horrible hive / swelling, like he's had a really nasty allergy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're in the middle of that. And you, not too long ago, you've seen a clue about the different currents moving. I just want to review the number of clues you have here and kind of see, because I know you were talking about getting towards a theory.
Yeah, so we've got 4, and I think I'm not trusting the rolls we've had for a flat roll. So unless you have direction, I've got something I'd like to try. Just as a next move.
Sure. I think it'd be kind of funny if one of these doctors suggested they go visit another fellow vendor. I think they say, these things take time to work themselves out. Trust in the treatment. You just got to let it run its course. Even someone who's taken quite a generous treatment, surely to purge you, you must have something within you that really must come out. I think you need something to cheer you up. Maybe some cheerful words, some blessings. I know just the place. And I think they'll direct you towards one of the other shops, vendors here, which is sort of like a greeting card store of sorts. It is, a second here, Speedy Supplications. So, as well as us, we're sort of multidisciplinary practitioners. We take inspiration from whatever faiths, whatever divinities can aid us. Whatever the need is, we'll find the resources that will best suit the occasion. And Speedy Supplications, they're collectors as well. They're sort of an antique newspaper stall. I think they'll kind of lead you towards this stall, and it's mounted on an old shipping barge, and they're sort of those rotating like magazine racks, but for greeting cards, kind of like sticking out at every angle, full of prayers and invocations from all sorts of faiths. Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I think Dr. Quick, he went to these people to try and get direct help for these missing people that have been victimized, and now he's been covered in paste and that led to a greeting card vendor. And I think he just gives them both a very tired look, and maybe he plucks a greeting card from the side, and it's got maybe a cat doing a big jump into the air to catch a butterfly, and it says, "Take a leap of faith today." And he just very gently puts it back and says, "I scheme and I try and be cautious and I try and think what is the best way of dealing with the situation. And the gods, they laugh at me. I'm beginning to think perhaps what is needed right now, my siblings, is a leap of faith. Because there are people out there who need my help, and I cannot waste any more time with you and this nonsense. So if you will excuse me, I'm going to do something a little like what my brother used to do when I was young. He always said I was afraid to take risks. He was always someone who could take a leap of faith." And he's just going to kind of turn and almost giving the impression that he's lost his mind and he's going to commit suicide here. He is going to, I would like to try and dive into the river because I reckon those river currents that are behaving oddly around Gabriel's barge are transporting the bodies down to whatever facility they're being held in. And so I'm going to hope and pray that I can go with the current and be dragged safely to the location without drowning. And I think Dr. Quick, just to be on the safe side, since the gods seem to hate him, he is going to take out some of the little organs in a glass jar that he keeps with him and just toss them to one side so that the large ferocious fish we mentioned that are in the river are going to hopefully go after those tasty organs instead of him. So I am,
Nice.
going to mix things up and try and find this location.
Amazing. Yeah, so that would give you advantage here. Sounds like a roll with vitality.
Mhm.
So yeah, so the information move. We'll treat it as the information move right now, just based on the clues you've gathered, and you're already suffering from a number of afflictions here. I kind of want to see where this goes. Yeah, so
I'm happy to take a risk if you want. It's not an issue.
oh no, let's just treat it as an information move. I think it's interesting too because of as a pox martyr, like yes, you're affected by conditions, but that's kind of your normal is have all these things. So the fact that you're you're just putting your body in at risk to do so is kind of your approach. Yeah.
Okay, in that case,
Yeah.
I got a 6, a 6, and a 4, so I actually got a 12.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So full success and some kind of bonus. Why don't you describe the success for us first?
I imagine the two kind of agog pox monks just watch as Dr. Raymond Quick kind of adjusts his tie, dives off the boat with a big splash, and is carried through the waters. And maybe he just kind of sees as something very dark and large rising up from the river depths, and it just snaps at the entrails of the organs that he's tossed in the other direction as he's dragged on, and the current is winding unnaturally down and round. He's very rapidly running out of breath. It is moving much faster than a river current should. And suddenly he feels it goes underground, under one of the banks, and then suddenly reemerges into, I'm imagining, somewhere underground, some kind of a pool underground, very dark, but he can just make out the golden lantern of some kind of building on the far side of the shore.
That's perfect. I know where this is. I think this is your clue. Instead of just mention of this place, you emerge in this place. This is the Chapel of Lost and Abandoned Gods, which I like your description. I think maybe it's like sunken since it's sort of shifted, so it's still like there's space to breathe. Maybe there's other like tunnels leading upward or whatever, but it's a faint light. Maybe there's a bit of a glass dome, stained with algae and mud and stuff like that. So kind of faint light coming through. And yeah, that's with a with a full like a full success. I think I'm going to come back to it, but I think you'll find two clues here. So the first clue is the location itself. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So let's get back to Bastion and Zeph. I feel like we kind of left them drifting a little bit here. You're able to do this factory tour. I think there's still like potential danger here with this weird saint thing. I think you've kind of played it off just fine as far as like you found evidence of what these extremists are doing. But who's to say? Are you kind of splitting up? Are you exploring together? What's your approach look like?
I think Bastion is much more focused on trying to find the source of this issue with the saint than on what he's actually here for. So I don't know that he'll like intentionally split away from the group, but he may well wander off. I don't know what Zeph's plan of attack is.
Well, Zeph won't stop Bastion from wandering off. That's for sure. Because I mean, you clearly know what you're doing. You clearly know. I mean, And you're probably going to figure out some stuff because wherever that thing's from, we'll probably figure it out. And Zeph is very interested in this, like the machinery, of course. He would like to touch it. Whether or not they let him get that close, we'll see. But he's gonna like kind of try to chit chat with the worker while they talk, while they walk, and ask questions like, so you how long has this factory been here? How long have like, you worked here? How long has this been production been going? Things like that.
Yeah. I know your last role I think you did with presence, but this could be a sort of thing where you're kind of chit-chatting, but you're trying to like take stock of things and analyze. I think
Yeah.
based on your background, that could be insight.
Okay, I will accept this.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like if the person isn't saying anything interesting, I'm mostly looking. Like I'm half listening to this person.
Yeah, we'll kind of roll it all together, I think.
That is a 9.
Okay. Nice. With a 9. I think they we'll say this is a newer employee who like you get the impression has finally been allowed to like give tours. So they're a little excited. They're kind of like sharing, oversharing a little bit. They're like, well, so what's special about our factory? Of course, most places they have to just bring in their specific ingredients. They just make one thing. But as you can see, we make almost anything. But what makes it special is we can make anything using anything. And that's really the key is and what those extremists don't understand is that we are recycling divine matter. And so you kind of round a corner and you hear this great churning, and it's sort of like there's sort of a pit. I think I don't know if you've ever seen videos. Randomly, I've seen this on the internet. It was probably some like scrap metal thing, but it was like big wheels that were turning. And it was like bikes just being crushed, just things being compacted. So it's like that, gears and wheels kind of turning, eating just raw material. But the clue is hazardous rotting divine waste mixed in with other trash. I'll leave that open-ended. You all can interpret that as you will. But I think the divine element is probably like pieces of other statues, maybe hints of other relics, who knows what. Going into this raw material to be remade. Gosh, with a 9. Let's come back to the complication there. Okay, I think we have time for maybe a couple more scenes, and then probably ready to do at least answer 1 or 2 questions, right? Let's go to Merriweather. So, sister, as you've kind of altered through telling the Watcher this and this little performance, has been expecting you, and she invites you in to the ranch itself.
Yeah, Merriweather sort of waves at sister in that kind of uncertain way that you do when you're like not sure you recognize the person that you're waving to. But she'll like gather up her things and trudge up to where sister is beckoning her. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh, what is time, really? Time feels like it's always almost ready for dinner around here. And you kind of notice that, like, again, the forest is like kind of hemming in this property. And you get this sense of the shadows creeping almost unnaturally, almost like the edge of nightfall is coming faster than you'd expected. Because, yes, we mostly just wait, just mind our time, just sing songs, tell stories, and then of course baby always hungry, always needing food. And I think as you go up and you see, did I owe you a complication, or that was like a full success? Is that right?
I think the complication was my taking the condition a disappointment.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, she's holding this bundle, and it's just sort of like this fair. You can barely even see the features, because it's just like tangled hair, um, chirping, growling. Said, you brought something for baby, right? He's never really satisfied. We just have meager offerings around here for the most part. Perhaps you
Um,
could help me in the kitchen.
sure. I'd love to. Maybe I could even hold baby for a while, give you a break.
Sure. Yeah, she hands you this wriggling child. If you would like to enter the sort of kitchen and stuff, I'm going to say this is probably a veiled move because of we've only been hinting at just how feral and strange and stuff they are. But it's yeah, I will say it's a veiled move because you're sort of entering the domain of whatever is watching over them. If you want to go directly into their home, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Yeah, what are you afraid might go wrong here or go badly?
Um, well, sister mentioned dinner.
Mhm.
I think Merriweather's afraid that dinner will be something unpalatable. She's thinking also
Sure,
back to that corpse in the bird
sure.
feeder.
Mhm.
Um, and that Merriweather will be made to taste it as like kind of proof that she's here as a friendly guest sort of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think this would be the veiled move with presence.
Okay. Okay, not bad. That's an 8.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think she says, "Oh, hold on, I'll be right back. I need to get something for baby." And you kind of there, maybe at the threshold of the ranch. Um, it's very dark. There's really no lights. It's kind of stale. Um, and I think this child just kind of starts growling at you and trying to bite you. Uh, like snapping and hissing and just like going, bite, hungry, one bite. What do you do?
I think is the child in Merriweather's arms? Did sister hand baby off before she left?
If you let her, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. Hmm.
yeah. Well, sister mentioned stories and songs, so I think
Oh,
Merriweather will do
nice.
her best to kind of keep the child's mouth out of biting distance, but sort
Hmm.
of kind of rock it back and forth.
Hmm.
Um, and she'll start to sing the lyrics of the poem that she was thinking, or the words of the poem that she was thinking about earlier, but with a kind of an improvised little kind of almost lullaby melody.
Love it. Um, I love the chat talking about how you're going to try to raise this beautiful child. um, yeah, I think this does start to, we'll just say that this soothes the child a little bit for the time being. But the yeah, as I've been maybe hinting, this is like anything but human sounding. That baby instead of kind of like cooing along is like chirping and growling. And
Oh yeah, and as Merriweather's
yeah.
doing this, she's fully like peeking around whatever corner her sister disappeared from, like
Mhm.
hoping she's coming back any moment now. Yeah.
Yeah. And at some point, I think you hear like some dull metal clanging, like sound like chimes. Maybe this is the equivalent of a dinner bell. And she goes, "Oh, well, come on in. Let's just get this ready." And you hear kind of like chopping and crunching, and then you kind of go into the kitchen. It's just a big table. There's no dishes. It looks pretty much like there's roadkill on the middle of this table. She just like hacking it with the cleaver. You hear heavier footsteps, and kind of like we saw before in that earlier version of this, your story to the Watcher, we see a pretty rough looking man, wild beard, torn flannel, come lumbering in. I think he's carrying like a sack that looks it's dripping. It looks like it's pretty dirty burlap, and kind of like drops it in the corner with a thud and a squelch. And sister goes, "Oh, wonderful brother, you always bring us such delights. Mother is so kind to us, isn't she? And we have a guest." And he kind of just looks at you, kind of blank, bleary, wild eyes. Goes, "Good. Stay inside." Starts to shut the door, like, "Not safe out there." And they all will start to huddle around and start to like prepare whatever dinner is and invite you in. I think we'll come back to that scene. Before we get to wrapping up, though, I think I want to see if there's other questions. Maybe John, are you thinking of answering a question here?
Yeah.
Well, I owe you another clue.
If you would love to give me one more clue, that would definitely help me.
That's right. Sorry. Yeah. Let me give you another clue, and then we'll maybe take a few minutes to think about that. That's right. I had it. Now I gotta scroll to it one more time. So yeah, the first clue is that you were in the chapel itself. And I think the second clue is what's the word for it? Like a plinth, like where they will have like a book out to read. And it's a map. It's like an annotated map. It's a map of the White Gull River, and it is covered in symbols and redrawn tide lines, but it also looks like maybe pickup or drop off points. And it looks like that's been referenced here a fair amount. Just for fun, this is a bit of an improvised location, but let's paint the scene. This is the Chapel of Lost and Abandoned Gods, which itself seems to have been abandoned and maybe repurposed here. If everyone could help me add what's a relic of a lost or abandoned faith that is kind of moldering and rotting away here, forgotten.
I think we see in the, like, there was a body of water that Dr. Quick came out of, right? So on the shoreline, on this muddy shoreline, we see this ivory mask that has multiple faces on it. It's chipped and cracked, and it looked like maybe it used to have like some sort of like polished eyes, but they've been scuffed, and it just has a bunch of mouths open as if singing or maybe sobbing.
Amazing.
I think that there is just kind of a fairly plain wooden stand on from which hangs like a bridle and bit. The bit sort of starting to rust and the leathers rotting away, and one of those big like long sort of whips, the sort of long carriage style whips hanging there. And these are clearly old relics of a god of cart drivers.
That's really nice. I was trying to think what kind of god would no longer be useful to society. And I was thinking that there is maybe the kind of blimp-like remnants of someone that has been blown up into a saint of helium hydrogen balloons. What do we used to put in balloons that was a bad idea? What was in the Hindenburg?
Gosh, would that be hydrogen? Sounds
It
like a
was
bad idea.
It was hydrogen, wasn't
hydrogen.
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
a god of hydrogen aeronautics. So it's just like a man who's been inflated and is hanging blimp-like from the ceiling on some hooks.
Fine.
I think my brain was broken by John's answer. I don't have anything.
That's great. Yeah, so legit with remnants of and all sorts of unidentifiable. Maybe they used to be statues. Maybe they used to be something else. Let's come back to that for Dr. Raymond. I still have a complication I need to add for Bastion and Zeph. Let's see. I think I think you're inspecting this pit where all sorts of gods are kind of being disposed of. And I think that the machinery shudders, that you feel as vibration underfoot. There's some kind of reaction, almost like a struggle, and you hear gears grinding and protesting. And it sounds like something has been swallowed by this that is now resisting. And other staff members kind of start to panic a little bit. And it's a little bit like that oil that Bastion saw inside of the statue starts to kind of like a geyser, just kind of like pressure is building and just kind of like explodes from inside of this pit. It's iridescent, speckled with little like glowing spots, almost like plankton or starlight, and it's where it hits the walls, it starts to ooze, but kind of pulsate like it's living in its own way. And yeah, this is a pretty unstable situation here. What do you all do?
I think I think maybe Bastion is kind of sprayed with some of this oil liquid, and just kind of takes, sort of wipes it off his face and stares it on his fingers for a moment. And I think that there's just a moment of thought, and then he kind of turns to the statue and just kind of mutters to it, I think I've been looking at this all wrong. I thought this was an abomination, but this is just this is just the cycle of life, isn't it? Decay, rebirth. It's just not being done properly. And I think he's going to kind of lay the statue down into this pool, and is basically going to start trying to recite some funeral rites over this pit.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. Is there? I'm trying to think if there's a move here, because I haven't really been pulling on your Cairn Maiden move.
I don't think my Cairn Maiden move is specifically relevant for this. That's more about
I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm interested to see if there's a way to pull it in, just because of what you're doing feels so like ritual and so like along with the themes. I'm just gonna look at it real quick. If not, that's fine. It's probably just a revelation move.
I was thinking probably the revelation move, yeah, but no, that's cool.
I guess if you're interested in this approach, I could see it being like laying this thing in the middle of this would be putting, going there without concern for your safety.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Although I think actually what I might do instead
Mhm.
is mark, because I have a book of prayers from
Cool.
different faiths. So I think I'm just going to kind of start reciting various different, as I see sort of elements of different gods poking up, kind of, yeah,
Yeah.
muttering some snatches of prayer to them.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I think then based on that approach, it would be the revelation move. But if this goes well, normally we ask what could go wrong, but I think it's relevant to say, like, I think if this succeeds, this would maybe quell what's happening a little bit and let you investigate here more. Otherwise, it's probably going to have to run out of here.
Yeah.
So that sounds cool. Um, I still think your condition would give you disadvantage, but if you're marking that, that would just be a flat roll.
Yeah, that's cool.
With communion.
That is a 4.
What a session, everyone. um, um, I think much like before when we saw the statue kind of wrap around you, I think you sense this sort of rage and fear and whatever this substance is, probably some weird, if we talked about divine matter being churned up and mixed together. It's very confused, it's very angry, but it's also very desperate to be brought back to its right form, to not be forced into new artificial forms. And as you start reciting these prayers and approaching it, I think these strands of oil, this ooze, I can't remember what it's called, with like slugs or like antenna, where it's like kind of, there's a word that I'm forgetting.
Pseudopod.
Yeah, like pseudopods. Yeah, starts reaching out to embrace you, but on a bigger scale now. Connecting to you, wanting to hear your prayers, wanting to like almost translate that back, bring this prayer back to its center. And Zeph start to see Bastion almost like lifted up and kind of elevated over this pit, as it's kind of like just holding him there, and then start to just like pull him deeper into the pit, unless you write a verse. I think
I am indeed going to write a verse on that one, I think.
Amazing. Instead, I think it's a mixed success here. I think it quells this sort of explosion, this reaction for now. But I think, because at a previous session, remind me if I'm wrong here, but I think we had said the maiden had indicated there was still a task for you here, and I think you're just reminded of basically the complication is that the task is more complicated than you realized. Yeah, that wasn't obvious.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, cool. All right. Zeph, while you're there, anything that you want to do?
I mean, I think that I do get splashed with this. Ugh, nasty. Terrible. I had plans for going close to the machinery, but you know what? We'll do that another day. We'll do that another day.
Did you do a roll earlier?
Yeah, I did. And I think that was part of the complication, was that because I got a clue from about the hazardous rotting divine waste.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, cool.
And then this.
To make sure. Yeah, it just churned. That's a complication. Okay. Yeah. So you're both there. It's still a little unstable, and in theory, this is going to get us back to what the deal is with Jolly Junk. But it's really interesting where it's going. I think we have time to answer at least one question though. Do we want to take like a really just a few minutes to think about it, or do you want to jump in and talk it through? Either way is fine. For the floating market, and possibly Elle, I've got to look. Do you have enough clues for the Dusk Mother?
We only have 2 for the Dusk Mother.
Okay, that's right.
I mean, we could, but
gotcha. Yeah, you probably want a few more for where the nest is. Although, I think that's a pretty low complexity one. Sorry, give me 1 second. I think that was just yeah, it's just complexity 2. So it is a flat roll as it is, but if you want to get some more clues, that would make sense too. Yeah,
It sounded
do
like John had a pretty
yeah,
developed thought about the floating market.
yeah, let's jump into it if everyone's cool with that.
Yeah, so for me, it's at this point, it's less kind of any grand revelations and more just a plan of attack. So I think
Mm.
Dr. Raymond Quick kind of shivering on the shoreline of this underground chapel, just thinking to himself, it's a chapel, so there must be somewhere where they keep sacrifices. So this is going to be where the victims that he suspects are still alive would be kept. If he finds them and he can get them out of there, they can, number one, he can save them, but number two, they could be useful allies. He doesn't need to neutralize the product because the mold isn't the problem. The problem is the people who are making use of it. If they're taken care of, the product is taken care of too. And since what people are clearly doing down here is experimenting on saints, there will be some very dangerous divine creatures down here. And as we all know, a product seeks to expand and replicate itself. A god must feed, and they do so indiscriminately. So if he can find somewhere where he can find a lever release to let the prisoners out, but also maybe let these saints that are likely to be here out, there is going to be some havoc caused if he can get the people out to the drop-off point that he has seen on this annotated map. The perpetrators will be trapped down here with those experimental saints. So it's kind of a rescue mission, but also to try and cause some chaos and to get out without being horribly harmed. And I think maybe in the darkness, what can help to guide his way through this old abandoned chapel that he doesn't know is that he can see the bioluminescent handprints maybe along the walls where someone who's been handling the mold has just been feeling their way along. So he could use that as a bit of a guide to hopefully find his way in safety.
Wow, yeah. Let me look over those clues while I think I've heard you mention all of them like pretty succinctly. Does anyone have any other thoughts or things to add or things that you might alter?
That was perfect.
Just
I
to
don't
give
have
other people a
anything.
chance.
Like that's fabulous. 10 out of 10, no notes. Like Elle said in the chat, chef's kiss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, like that.
I mean, we can like it, but when I roll a 4, what does it matter?
So just to make sure we're going through the because it is a complexity 4, and we've incorporated 6 clues. Yeah, it was all pretty straightforward. Oh, I see. So that's still a miss, is what you're saying. If you roll the 4.
Oh no, sorry. I was saying I
if you
bet
roll.
I'm going to. I haven't rolled yet.
Okay, good. I was gonna say like yeah, I think all those clues are pretty well explained. Like the a lot of this is just from like context in the scene that you're in. So like I'm into it. So that would be a +2 on the roll. Yeah. Do you want to roll it?
Oh, that is a 5 and a 6.
Oh wow, okay. So that is a full success beyond. So that is yeah. 13, right? So the theory is completely correct, and there's let me just look over the move to make sure I'm not reading it wrong. I just can't remember if there's a bonus if you roll higher than that on the answer question here. Sorry, hold on. I keep mousing over a different section, then it won't show me the answer a question. Okay, here we go. Okay, so on 10 plus, the answer is correct, and the opportunity can be pursued. On a 12 plus, it's correct, but the events are also connected to the conspiracy. Someone from the conspiracy will reveal themselves to the custodians while you're pursuing the opportunity, which I kind of already jumped the gun on a little bit before. But yeah, John, since you had this theory, you kind of laid it out. Can you narrate for us what this looks like? Because it's just you single-handedly finishing this, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
guess we can kind of begin with Dr. Quick just alone, his face horribly swollen, at least, the mold spores rising off him and the parasites squirming in him. And he's just kind of turning his little scalp over in his hands and he goes, okay, find the prisoners, get them out, release the saints. It's fine, it's fine. It's useful obviously to have all of my colleagues with me to help me with this. And he kind of looks behind him into the darkness and sighs, goes, come on, what would Eric do? What would Eric do? He'd be brave, wouldn't he? You could be brave, Raymond. Be brave like him. And then he just turns and walks forward into the darkness. And maybe just, quite rapidly, we see that there are kind of some huddled figures in a cell, and they look up and go, ah! As this man with a sort of hideously allergic-looking face appears. And he goes, shh, 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 and pulls a little handle and the cell door slides open. And then I imagine we hear the sounds of horrible saints rising up from below, and the sound of another door clanking open, and an alarm begins to sound. And the same captives from the cells kind of begin running up the spiral staircase of the chapel as Dr. Quickeye goes, come on, hurry, hurry, hurry. And then if you'll allow, Gabriel, if it's connected to the conspiracy, could we bring back the agent who showed up before?
Yeah, you basically have disrupted operations here. Is there anything that you would like to add, John, to what this resolution looks like?
So I think I was just kind of gunning for there to be some kind of, we said that maybe it's whoever's conducting the experiments is the problem. So I think I was gunning just for there to be a person. I said, oh, maybe it's someone working for the Institute, but if it's not, that's totally cool. Basically, whoever's doing it, I'm imagining just there's a clang of a steel door as he locks them down there with the Saints and then leads the prisoners up to the kind of to the light again in the woods, rain falling, sun rising, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, I like that as well. So maybe by the time you get up is when you will see this other member of the Institute. That's how I can probably tie it in better without negating what you're doing. Got it. Yeah. So they're taking notes on you. They're interviewing you as well. And I think Dr. Ishikaro as well is saying something and basically saying it as if it's already happened, sort of like, well, reports will be conflicting over this, but in the end, everyone will agree and understand that it is unfortunately what happens when unregulated divinities are allowed to operate in these sort of conditions. But thankfully, agents of the Bureau were able to assist. I'm just kind of like writing a report in real time under the watchful auspices of the Institute for Theological Research and Innovation. And ultimately, this will benefit society. So they're sort of trying to put their spin on what's happened here, scapegoating some of the other people involved here. We just have a few minutes. Let's do stars and wishes, and then I think we'll pick up with rewards next time. But yeah, stars and wishes and end of session questions. Stars and wishes, though, really had fun with this session. It was a bit more improv than I've done in some, so thank you for hanging in there with me to try to pull the pieces together. But stars from the real estate agents being run off and weft, to the performance by Merriweather, to the turbocharging this tugboat, this weird direct approach right up to the factory, and also to all the really interesting approaches with the Cairn Maiden and following the threads of this weird polymer saint. Just been really fun to see the directions of each of these custodians and how you, even though like the assignments are about this one question, I just feel like the approaches you all have come up with and like the story that it's telling are going so much more beyond that little question that it's just so entertaining to see these different threads, regardless of like how that comes about to answering the assignment. So I've really been enjoying that. Yeah, wishes just to be a little bit more on top of some of the game procedures on my end. I'm kind of juggling pieces, so it gets a little convoluted, but having a great time. Anyone else?
I'll go. Well, for one, I think you did a fabulous job juggling 3 assignments in one game. That's a lot. 3 assignments and 4 players, and we all just kind of went off and did our own shit. We were
Oh, yeah,
like, no,
yeah, yeah.
I got a plan. Don't worry. Don't worry. And so that's a lot to juggle, and I think you did a fabulous job. I love the way you react to like misses. They're always so dramatic.
A lot of
Like,
misses this session.
yeah, and I loved it. I felt a little bad that my dice were nice to me, but I really like the saint trying to consume Bastion. All of it was really wild, and the "what is time" from Sister was very much a mood. Um, uh, for Bastion, I really love everything you did with the saint. I did not expect you to bring that thing off the boat into the factory just casually. That was so rad. That was like just so fabulous. Just the matter of factness of Bastion it entertains me to no end. And it's just like, yeah, of course this is happening. Why wouldn't I do this? It's fine. I really love, I know Gabriel already said it, John, I love the real estate agents being chased out of WEP. That was really good. And the plastic Satan, and do I look like a disciple of a god of clowns to you? I wrote that down verbatim because that is the best shit. Oh my god. I really love where Raymond Quick is going. I really am, I'm fascinated with everyone's stories, really, but that was just a very fun speech. Elle, oh my gosh, the poem, the return of the camcorder, and the absolutely, your performances are always fabulous, very appropriately for the Watcher in the Wings. Also, the Brad Pitt of mushrooms is that delights me. I also wrote that down verbatim. Yeah, I love everyone's paint the scenes. They're all fabulous. You're all fabulous, and I love this. And wishes. I'm just excited to see what the hell we do next. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah, no, definitely stars around. It was another great session. I really loved Gabriel. Some of the appearance of the skeletons was amazing. It was like, yeah, real kind of, yeah, creepy folk horror vibes. There was excellent. And yeah, the big pit of melting gods is again, brilliant imagery. I loved it a lot. I really enjoyed seeing kind of Zeph interacting with the manager and sort of doing the kind of corporate side of the god things was really good fun. So it was nice to see that. And contrasting with that, I really liked seeing as we mentioned Dr. Quick starting to kind of have a bit of a breakdown was amazing too. I really loved how that came across, and then going into answering the question. And yeah, I really I loved with Elle, making. I mean, again, obviously, things like that setup for the going to the skeleton farm was amazing, but just going straight ahead with just walking into the farm of the. I mean, maybe they're not cannibals, who knows? But yeah, that was great. But yeah, no, brilliant session around there. Loads of great moments. But yeah, in terms of wishes, I think I will get my first advance next time. So I'm looking forward to choosing a move and seeing how that plays out.
Yeah, echoing everything that's been said, Gabriel, you were absolutely wonderful. So really well done. I think of everything that's been said, yeah, Bastion, we're coming in with the Saint was such a wonderful moment. Elle, please, I'd love it if you could send us a link to that poem, or just the title and the poet again if you have it, because that was just really beautiful. And B, I loved Zeph starting to be like a bit slick and malevolent in those chats. It was such a small thing, but such a wonderful little character moment. So yeah, I'm really excited to see more of that. Wishes, I don't know. I'm excited, hopefully, to if we're wrapping up the floating market, excited to see what comes next, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I put lots of O's in the chat throughout the session. But in addition to those, yeah, it was super exciting to see Zeph's double advantage move. And as a fellow nautically challenged person, I really sympathize with you. But I thought Zeph was great throughout the session. For Bastion, um, I really like the way you tied what's going on with Young Jolly Junk into your personal faith and that thing you said about kind of the cycle of life of decay and rebirth, but like just not happening the way it should was like really cool and evocative. Um,
Mm.
and for John, your paint the scene answers the session were like bananas in a great way. Um, And in addition to those, I really like the image of Raymond popping up to save the prisoners with his like deformed face and the prisoner going, ah! I thought it was fantastic. A great little detail there. And thank you for doing all of our work and putting together such a fantastic theory. And for Gabriel, yeah, I thought you did a great job juggling everything. We were really sprawling out narratively, and you managed to keep everything tied together. I also really liked the small moment where you described the night approaching on the Skelton Ranch, and the way it sort of echoed the earlier image of the shadows in the mural. I'm not sure if that was even intentional, but like the vibes are very much there, and that was super cool. So yeah,
I'll pretend it was
wishes more of the
intentional.
same.
Mm. Stars as well. Just to seeing the progression of each character, like seeing Dr. Raymond Quick go through so many bad situations and then be like, you know what? I'm gonna do this thing. I'm done with this. And then but also as a player, as John just kind of going through and then pulling the theory together was just really fun to see. So um yeah, wishes that would also be to see the trajectories these characters are on where you're all pretty deep into these various situations. So you definitely have a lot of momentum. Really looking forward to seeing where that goes. We're a little bit past time. Do you want to do end of session questions now while it's fresh in our minds, or does anyone need to go? Either way is totally fine. We're good. Let's okay, cool. So we did resolve an assignment. So everyone can mark that one. And then let's see. Did anyone not engage with a god, angel, or divine manifestation? I feel like everyone did in some way.
I feel like we all kind
Pretty
of
directly. Yeah.
very directly,
Yep.
whether we liked it or not.
Bastion, did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests?
Yes, I was not really focused on the task at hand today. Definitely going in for the job for the Cairn Maiden.
Yeah, it definitely gave us this whole other arc. And then did you struggle with your personal faith?
I wouldn't say struggle, no. Had a couple of questions maybe, but I wouldn't go so far as to say struggling.
Cool. And yeah, you said you'll advance, so that'll be, I think. You were mentioning a new move. Cool. And then Dr. Raymond, did you deliver? I feel like you delivered a monologue at some point.
The rant about clowns, I guess, was a monologue.
Yeah.
I was about to say, you have to count that.
I was scrambling to think of like, can there be a condition about Doctor of Clowns? I couldn't come up with it on the fly, but that was a great moment. And then were you vulnerable with someone?
Debatable. He was kind of vulnerable with himself, but I don't know if he was really opening up to
Yeah,
anyone, was he?
makes sense. Yeah, he was on his own for this one, really. Zeph, I think you delivered a monologue as well at some point.
I did my
feel like-
best to do one to Beth.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. That made sense. And then did you undermine the orders of your superiors or use the assignment to pursue personal interests?
Not really. I
Oh.
kind of gave up on him when it seemed like my life was in danger.
Yeah, survive first. I feel like you could be getting there with, I liked when you were talking about like poking around, looking at machinery and seeing what you might salvage and stuff.
We're working on it.
Yeah. Merriweather, yeah, you went out of your way to connect with the local community several times. And then did you struggle with your personal faith?
I think with the disappointing performance, and I kind of tried to show the toll that performing all the time takes on her.
Yeah, yeah. Nice. Awesome. Yeah, track your XP and if you have advancements, maybe we'll talk about them next session.
Also, yeah, the toll, the menthol drops she put in her eyes. Holy shit. Oh man, alive. That was wild.
Yeah. I didn't have any tears. I love that. Amazing. Any other stars and wishes while we're here? Awesome. Yeah, amazing session. Thanks so much, everyone.